现在订阅同盟会英语，不论找工作、升学或英检，表现更棒。快上
StudioClassroom.com。
现在请收听教学节目。
Advanced Studio Classroom is on the air. As we bring August to a close, we are making way for whales. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Advanced Studio Classroom. My name is Brandon. Today is August 30th, and we begin our nature article as we come to the end of August. And we have Hazel with us today. Hi, Hazel.
Hi, Brandon. How are you?
I am doing fine, and I liked to talk about things to do with the ocean. I like going to the ocean. I just don't like going underneath the water.
Is that right? Have you ever tried?
I have, Hazel, and maybe I've shared this with you all before. So I tried scuba diving training a couple of years ago, but I didn't make it really far. So what we did, we went into the classroom and they teach us all the techniques and that sort of thing. And then they take us to this big swimming pool for practice. And as soon as I went under the water, I was like, get me out of here.
Really?
And then I stuck with it for a bit and I went all the way down to the deep end. It was a special pool that was especially deep, you know, because you're planning for diving. And I went down to the bottom and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go back up. And he's like, no, you're supposed to stay here. So it's not for me. How about you? Have you tried scuba diving?
I have not, and I wouldn't mind trying, but there's a few things. Number one, I have a lot of hobbies already. And so to add another hobby that is expensive and you have to really plan for, if you're going on a scuba trip, even if you get certified, so even if I got that far, and I might not. I might be like you and go in the pool and say no.
Right. So it's an investment that you're not really willing to take a chance
on. That's right. I don't think I would. If I got certified, I don't think I would go that often enough to make it worthwhile.
You have enough other things to fill your time. What are some of your hobbies? You said you had a lot of hobbies.
I like to play with the dogs, train dogs. I like to play musical instruments. I like to bike from time to time, but I don't even have time to do the things I want to learn.
Maybe not.
Let alone.
You don't want to add underwater basket weaving.
True.
Sometimes we use that phrase jokingly, just meaning, I don't know.
Just something that's not worthwhile, right? If you're going to weave a basket, you don't need to go underwater. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it would be fun, though. I'm sure that the people who do it really enjoy it. And when you see the ocean underwater in videos or on TV, it's really amazing. And I'm sure to experience that yourself would be just really awesome.
Yeah. And this article in particular is not really about scuba diving. It's more about being on top of the water in a boat and going on a tour. You can do these whale watching tours or dolphin tours. That sounds like fun. Have you ever done something like that?
Almost.
I'm in the same boat.
Really? You're in the same boat?
Yes, pun intended, yes.
There you go.
What do you mean by almost?
Well, I took a trip one time up to eastern Canada. So I live in Maryland. We drove up the coast north and ended up in Canada to a place, Sea of Gaspé, which is famous for whales and certain kind of birds. And so they would say, oh, is that a whale? Look, over there, is that a whale? And it's like, maybe. So I'm sure I almost saw a whale a few times, but I'm not real sure if that's what it was.
Well, I had a similar situation except with dolphins. So I was on a ferry and headed to a small island. And then you look out the window and there you see a dolphin jumping out of the water. So it wasn't an official dolphin tour, but I was able to see that. And I love that because you're not really expecting it. And then you see the beauty of the dolphin just coming up out of the water.
Right. Well, maybe tomorrow we'll talk about places that have big whales that you could see or dolphins that you can look at up close. But we'll see some pros and cons maybe
Just
about
not
that.
sure how close I want to be. Maybe from a distance. They're pretty big animals, right? All right, well, we are on page 42, and we're going to have our first reading. We're talking about California's Dana Point, and has been named the first whale heritage site in the U.S. There are only 4 whale heritage sites. We'll get more into that after our reading, but if you have your magazine, open it up to page 42. We'll have our reading. We'll be back in just a moment.
Make way for whales. California's Dana Point named first whale heritage site in the U.S. Dana Point recently became the first whale heritage site in the U.S., a distinction it shares with Hervey Bay in Australia, the Bluff in South Africa, and the newly named Tenerife La Gomera marine area in Spain. The designation acknowledges areas known for having cultural ties and respectful interactions with whales and dolphin. It really is something that will solidify Dana Point as the whale and dolphin watching capital of the world, said Donna Kales, co-president of Dana Wharf Sport Fishing and Whale Watching. It's been a long-time dream. Her father, Don Hansen, started whale watching tours off Southern California in the 1960s and pioneered the first whale festival half a century ago.
Whale heritage sites. I had never heard of this, Hazel.
I hadn't either. I know the term heritage site. There are special designated areas where maybe old homes or old estates where you're not supposed to change them. You're supposed to appreciate them. So they're kind of protected areas or locations. So heritage sites are well protected and well cared for and very special places.
Yeah, and these particular sites, they recognize outstanding destinations that offer and celebrate responsible and sustainable wild whale and dolphin watching. So that's why they are able to be on this list. It's a really short list, actually. There are only 4 sites, which we get into here in our first paragraph. So this one in California is the first one in the United States, so that's a pretty big deal for the U.S., but there are places in other countries that are on the list. The next one we see is one in Australia, and then there's also one in South Africa and one in Spain. And let's just travel to all of those.
Shall we?
When we're able.
We'll be back.
Yeah, we'll be back in just a moment.
Few months. No.
Well, it's pretty amazing that if you are into these kinds of tours, and you're going to one of these countries, you could check it out. Now, I have not been to any of these other countries, so this is a good excuse for me to check these out. Have you been to any of these countries, Hazel?
No, I have not.
Would you like to go to any of these places?
Sure.
All of them?
That sounds good.
Yeah. I've never been to Australia, and so that would be interesting to go and see that, and I haven't been to the others either. All right, so this designation acknowledges areas known for having cultural ties and respectful interactions with whales and dolphins. And that's kind of what we were discussing as we were looking at the definition of a whale heritage site.
I have a question because you just said respectful interactions with whales and dolphins.
Yes.
But I see the word dolphin there. It's singular. It doesn't have an S on it.
So dolphin can be spelled D-O-L-P-H-I-N for both the singular and the plural, or the plural can also have an S.
Oh, so that's great. You're less likely to make a mistake.
Yeah, yes, that's true. And so we follow the American Heritage Dictionary when we're looking at how words are used. And as you probably know, many words can have, different ways of spelling and so forth. And so in the American Heritage Dictionary, the first usage for plural is without an S. So isn't that nice and confusing?
It is. I had no idea about that, so that's good to learn.
Yes.
Also, like when you talk about fish, sometimes you hear people say fishes in the plural.
Yeah.
And so when I was a child, we just said the plural is fish.
Right.
Never
That's
added
what I still
es.
say.
But I've heard that a lot recently.
Well,
fishes.
we keep changing things.
I know. That's what language is about. That's what makes language living and exciting.
Absolutely. It is living.
And difficult.
And difficult, right? English is not an easy language, so you all are doing a great job. And I know advanced challenges you a lot. All right, so in our next paragraph, we meet a lady, and she is part of the Wharf Sport Fishing and Whale Watching Company. What does she tell us, Hazel?
Well, she says that it's something that solidifies or makes certain the fact that it's a heritage site for whales makes certain that whale and dolphin watching, this area will be the capital of the world.
All right, and so that's a pretty big statement that this place in California, Dana Point, it has this designation. It's been put in this category. And they're saying it will be the whale and dolphin watching capital of the world. Of course, maybe she's a bit biased, right? And her company is there. And so they want to promote this as much as possible. But it is good to know, you know, in all of the U.S., this is the first one. And so it's something to be proud of.
It is. I think that phrase is interesting, capital of the world. You know, cities have capitals, countries have capitals, but this phrase, capital of the world, is something that you hear from time to time. It means it's a central place, very important place, but I think there really isn't a capital of the world.
Right.
So
we use that a lot for various situations, and just gives you the idea that, oh, this is really important.
Right,
And this
it's
is
a
like
big place.
Maybe the one and only of its kind.
Right.
So, that sort of thing. Well, she goes on, she says it's been a long time dream, and she talks about her father, Hazel.
That's right. Her father, Don Hansen, started whale watching tours off Southern California in the 1960s. So that was quite some time ago, 60 years ago?
Yeah.
And he pioneered, which means he was one of the first ones to do this, the first whale festival half a century ago. How do you have a whale festival? I mean, if you invite the whales, will they come?
I don't know if they'll listen to you. I don't know I guess that's, everything's whale themed. I don't know.
Yeah, probably to celebrate the whale, maybe to go out whale watching.
Maybe they have more tours then.
Yeah,
maybe you have a discount.
Right, maybe. Maybe you can get whale sandwiches. I don't know.
I don't know about that. Well, it says that he pioneered the first whale festival half a century ago. If you pioneer something, you're basically the first one to do it. And we do see that this was a long time ago. It was back in the 1960s. So it's not surprising that her father pioneered this and pioneered the first whale festival there a half a century ago. And so that's pretty incredible. I have not yet been on one of these tours. We see people there in the bottom of page 42. They look like they're having a good time, Hazel.
They do, yeah. I think it would be fun to go out on a little boat and watch for whales or dolphin.
Have you ever been on a cruise or anything like that, Hazel?
Not really. I've been on a mini cruise where in the Chesapeake Bay, which is the east coast of the U.S., you can take a little cruise about an hour or two long. So it's just a mini cruise. But it is amazing to be out on the water and to be able to look out. Even though it wasn't the ocean, it was the bay. But it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's relaxing. And so that's something different that you can do. And you're not just out on a boat. You actually are there for a reason. Hopefully you will see a whale or a dolphin or something like that. And we have different types of whales that we'll talk more about tomorrow. Well, next we are going to learn more about what's going on here in California. Let's go to our next reading, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Giselle Anderson, Vice President at Captain Dave's, a rival, said the designation will attract visitors who want to see 5 species of whale and 5 species of dolphin that thrive in waters off the point. We have more wild dolphin per square mile than anywhere else in the world, Anderson said, noting that 450,000 common dolphin live between Southern California and Baja, Mexico. Even so, that's not why Dana Point became a heritage site.
All right, well, we meet a lady from a rival whale-watching tour company. Her name is Miss Anderson, and she's the vice president at Captain Dave's, Hazel.
That sounds like a fun place, doesn't it?
It does.
So the last column that we talked about a different company. So these companies are rivals, all right?
They're competing.
Exactly. So they both want customers, and one wants more customers than the other because that means more money. However, we're going to find out later they are working together.
A lot of times we use this word in sports with two teams.
Right.
They're rivals. Like maybe you go, to one university and they're playing football or baseball or basketball against another team, and it's their rival, right? And so that means they really want to beat them the most, right? And so in this particular context, we're talking about two companies. And of course, one wants to get more customers than the other because they want to make money. So Miss Anderson said the designation will attract visitors who want to see 5 species of whale and 5 species of dolphin that thrive in waters off the point. And so we're not talking about just 1 or 2 species. There are several here.
Right. 5 different species of whales, 5 of dolphin. So that's a lot to attract people. So even though they're rivals, maybe it's like 2 stores next to each other, but if they both have a lot of customers, that's fine, right? Mm-hmm. So because now this is a heritage site for whales and people realize that there's so many different species to see, maybe they'll both have enough customers.
There's room
now.
for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? Well, she goes on, she says, we have more wild dolphin per square mile than anywhere else in the world. That is a big statement as well. And so she notes that 450,000 common dolphin live between Southern California and Baja, Mexico. But this really isn't the reason why Dana Point became a heritage site. Why did they? Well, we'll talk more about that as we go through the article. In fact, we'll do it right now. Let's go to our last reading for today, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Why it was selected. Ben Williamson, Programs Director of World Animal Protection U.S., explained that sites are selected for other reasons. It's all about the heritage, the culture, the education, and conservation sustainability, he said. His global nonprofit organization partners with the World Cetacean Alliance in hopes of creating a world where cetaceans only live in the wild, where they live in harmony with people. Both organizations oppose dolphin and whales being kept in captivity, where they are held in tanks much smaller than their natural habitat range and forced to perform tricks. The Whale Heritage Site program offers a chance for visitors to interact responsibly with animals and see them in the wild, and train future generations to seek authentic interactions too.
All right, well, why was Dana Point in California actually selected? Well, we hear from Ben Williamson. He is the Programs Director of World Animal Protection U.S., and he explained that sites are selected for other reasons, Hazel.
Right, not just because they have the most species or the most amount of
whales or
and dolphins. Okay, but it's about the heritage, and it's about the culture and the education and the conservation sustainability. So it's it involves a lot of different things, and can they continue sustaining those things?
So it sounds like what really makes the list is this area, are they willing to conserve? Are they focused on sustainability? Are they making sure the whales, the dolphins are, taken care of? Well, in this case, we are talking about whales, but in particular, because it's a whale heritage site. But a lot of these places, of course, do other kinds of tours. If there's dolphins out there, they'll do that. But are they protecting the whales? And what about the culture surrounding it and the heritage there? There's a lot going on, and there are only 4 on the list, and so I'm sure it's not easy just to get on this list.
No, it's not, and we're going to find out a little bit more about that tomorrow, how to get on this list. It's not an easy process. It took them a long time and a lot of hard work to get there. But it seems to me that some of these words seem a little bit similar, like heritage and culture. Heritage would be what? The tradition, the history of...
Yeah, right. It does. It sounds like one of those sentences that's like, okay, that sounds nice, but what does all of that, that mean?
Right.
But I think toward the end we get the conservation and sustainability. Are they protecting the animals? And the culture, I guess, like, what is the culture surrounding the tours? And what's the culture of the site, right? Does it have a rich culture? We look back many years ago, the 1960s, they had the first whale festival. Maybe they look back at the history of what's been going on and how they've been, treating the animals and so forth.
So they can point to those things as a reason why they should become a heritage site.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this particular place, this World Animal Protection US, is a global nonprofit organization, and it partners with another organization. It's called the World Cetacean Alliance. Okay. What is an alliance?
Well, an alliance is like a partnership. So you have the same goals in mind, so you join together. Sometimes that term is used where maybe you wouldn't have the same exact ideas, but you want to reach a certain goal, so you ally together with another company or another partner in order to reach the goals.
That's right. And then we have this word cetacean, and maybe you haven't heard of that. It's just a category for these aquatic marine mammals, and it includes whales and dolphins and others. And so that's what that is a category. So there's this alliance, and these 2 different organizations, they're working together. And they want to create a world where these cetaceans only live in the wild, where they live in harmony with people. Now, there's this whole debate, of course, Hazel, where you have animals living in the wild or they're in captivity. Maybe they're in the zoo, and some people say, no, that's bad, and others have other thoughts. That's good for educational purposes and so forth. What are your thoughts, Hazel?
Well, as a lot of people, I can see both sides. Because if people go to the zoo or they go to a water park where they see these animals, they might become very curious. They might even end up studying these animals and go into a profession. How did these people get interested in the dolphins and the whales? Maybe at the zoo or maybe at a dolphin show. But if you still keep them in captivity, they have to be not only well cared for, but entertained, perhaps. They need to have places to swim and things to do.
Yeah, it's hard, I guess, for some people at least, if not many, to go to the zoo and see, oh, the animal is in captivity. That's kind of sad. They can't be in their natural habitat out in the wild. But you make a really good point that, hey, we can learn more about these animals as a result of the access we have to them. Maybe we wouldn't know as much, and so there maybe are benefits to both sides, but these organizations here, they oppose dolphin and whales being kept in captivity, which captivity just means, of course, they are not allowed to leave a certain area. And so they're held in tanks that are really small compared to their natural habitat, and sometimes they are forced to perform tricks. Now, the way this is worded, it sounds like it's, definitely not a good thing, but someone else may have a different opinion. I don't know how the dolphins feel about being forced.
Exactly. They say dolphins do have their own language, so maybe someday we can ask them.
That's right.
But, you go to a show, it seems like the dolphins are having a good time, doesn't it? So it's hard to know.
I think the main point is, are they well taken care of? At least that's one thing.
Right. It seems like dolphins enjoy the human contact. In fact, even when you see shows about boats that go out, or you'll see a YouTube video, somebody drops their cell phone in the water and a wild dolphin, picks it up and gives it back.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
it is amazing. So again, that's why I started out with saying I can see both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are good points. Well, this Whale Heritage Site program offers a chance for visitors to just be able to interact responsibly with the animals and see them in the wild. And also the idea is to train future generations to seek these authentic interactions, meaning they're not in a tank somewhere in a zoo. You're able to see them in their natural habitat out in the wild. Well, we have much more to discuss tomorrow as we finish up our nature article. Join us tomorrow for day 2. Until then, this is Brandon.
Hazel.
Saying goodbye.
Goodbye.